The day has come. The countdown is over. The guns have fallen silent. The stars have aligned. The great wait is over. The F-2 is finally here. Update Leviathans will bring us the famous Japanese fighter in two forms, the F-2A ADTW Premium and the F-2A in the tech tree. We'll discuss each variant and perhaps speculate a bit about the future of the F-2A. But first, let's talk about a bit of history of the F-2A as I outlined in the old video how to implement AESA radars and the Mitsubishi F-2. If you haven't watched that, you should. Link in the description, and will be on the top right of your screen. The F-2A traces its roots to the 1980s, when a replacement for the aging F-1 fighter was sought. After a series of feasibility studies, it culminated in Mitsubishi signing with General Dynamics contracting the F-16 Fighting Falcon design. It was based off the Agile Falcon that General Dynamics offered as an alternative in the Advanced Tactical Fighter competition that saw the F-22 Raptor emerge as the winner. After more diplomatic haggling in the late 80s and early 90s, what emerged as the F-2 was a variant of the F-16 Agile Falcon that was larger than the F-16C, had more hardpoints, and utilized indigenous Japanese weapons and electronics, including but not limited to the JAPG-1 and JAPG-2 AESA radars, and the JAAQ-2 flare pod. The F-2's first and only production run ended in 2011 with 94 production units and 4 prototypes being built. In 2012, as part of the introduction of the AAM-4B on the F-2, the JAPG-1 was replaced with the JAPG-2 AESA radar. A noted change between the two radars was the introduction of the JARG-1 data link transmitter, allowing the F-2 to guide multiple AAM-4s through data link. The AAM-4B was also introduced, replacing the active radar seeker on the AAM-4 with an active electronically scanned array radar, a first of its kind on ARH missiles. It is common misconception that the F-2 is the first fighter in the world to utilize AESA radar with the JAPG-1. However, in 1999, the first of 18 F-15C fighters in the US Air Force were fitted with the AN/APG-63V2, a few months or so shy from the first flight of the F-2 prototype with the JAPG-1. In 2012, with the introduction of the HMDs to the F-15J with the AAM-5 missile, similar considerations were made to the F-2. However, while the budget was allocated for the F-2's HMD, F-2s did not receive any HMD aside from a possible mock-up. As everything is still subject to change in the dev server, the only aspects of the F-2 I can say something about is its weaponry. The F-2 can use the AAM-3 and AAM-4 for air combat and for ground ordnance, a suite of Mighty Mouse and Zuni rockets, the Mike 80 series of bombs, and the ASM-1 and ASM-2. Let's talk about the air-to-air ordnance first. The AAM-3 is a superb IR missile, decent agility and range, and pretty strong IRCCM. The AAM-4 is physically similar to the AIM-120C, however it lacks the range and the G overload. It's a decent Fox 3 in every respect. It has a max range of 100 kilometers while sacrificing a bunch of its G overload. The F-2 can carry 4 of each type of missile, totaling 8. So numerically speaking, the F-2 has the same amount of air-to-air missiles as the F-15J. However, because the wing pylons on the F-15J can be wired to carry Fox 3s, the F-15J can carry more Fox 3s overall. When it comes to other features, the F-15J takes the cake. Unlike the F-15JM, the F-2 does not have HMD, only has 60 countermeasures, and lacks the power of 2 220 engines. The F-15J, on the other hand, lacks the TWS ESA capability, which is very useful. But in most respects, the AN/APG-63V1 can perform just as well as JAPG-2 outside of niche situations. However, the F-2 should perform just as well. After all, the lack of HMS is not inherently disqualifying. The Finnish F-18 is fine with it. However, with the caveat that the F-18 from Finland does have 10 AMRAAMs, and the Finnish F-18 is already superseded by the MLU-2 in that tech tree. Now let's move on to ground ordnance. I won't judge the ASM-1 and ASM-2 right now, because these are still incomplete in the state of the dev server. The ASM-2 still uses active radar guidance, or still requires guidance from the radar. But anyway, hopefully the ASM-2 should do well, since it's just a slower KH-30MT. Has IR guidance and inertial onboard guidance. Although Pad Sears will have fun intercepting the subsonic ASM-2. Although, currently, in the state of the dev server, neither the ASM-1 and ASM-2 are quite useful because they need a moving target to lock onto with the GMTI on the radar. The ASM-2 has imaging IR capability in real life, so it really shouldn't rely on the radar to acquire targets, much unlike the ASM-1. So, what's the future of the F-2? The F-2 at its current state is a mishmash of the initial production model and the 2012 upgrade. The JAPG-2 means it should receive the AAM-4B, but the AAM-3 will probably be its main IR missile unless Gaijin decides that the AAM-5, fitted on the F-2s from the Air Development and Training Wing, is enough to add it for all F-2s. Then, perhaps, it still has some ways to go to be better. For ground ordnance, however, it feels like that's about it, other than the ASM-3, which is a long-range supersonic cruise missile that probably won't see War Thunder for a pretty long time. So overall, what's the verdict? Is the F-2 worth it? Well, that depends. If you expect the F-2 to be the F-15J killer that will perform overall better in all aspects, then I've got bad news for you. But if you're going to the F-2 knowing what you want from it and knowing exactly why you like it, you won't find yourself disappointed. The F-2 is pretty, sleek, menacing, and that's about as much as I can ask from it. I wish I had more to say about the F-2, but really it's just an alternative to the F-15J. It does better in some respects, but both will play the same in the brain-dead missile sling meta top tier. So whether the F-15J or the F-2 is better really boils down at this point to taster's choice. Do you like the sleek blue camouflage of the F-2, or do you like the various livery that the F-15J sport? Do you like a well-balanced Fox 2, Fox 3 loadout, or do you like the ability to fill all missile pylons with Fox 3s? The great thing about War Thunder is that it lets you choose, and with Japan, you have 4 13.7s to choose from. Although, if you are playing Japan for Japan, let's be honest, you're only choosing 2. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Maybe I'll put out more dev server content, but I'll have a different video coming out at the end of this week. So, if you're watching this, please wait until Saturday for another video. But anyways, thank you for watching. This is the Dr. MD. More videos on the way.